Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are unpacking a deeply moving story that, well, on the surface, might just look like a simple rescue animal narrative. But as we get into the details, you'll see it completely transforms into this profound, life-changing realization about the true nature of healing, acceptance, and how we actually connect with others. This isn't just about a pet, you guys. It's a journey that forces every single one of us to question how we define support, especially for those who just navigate the world a little differently. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Our source material actually begins with a really personal anecdote. Out of sheer curiosity, the author decided to have their palm read. You know the drill, looking at the lifeline, the fate line, the whole shebang. And whether or not you actually believe in palmistry isn't really the point here. The point is the highly specific prophecy this palm reader delivered. You are someone whose luck opens by helping others. Now, at the time, the author figured, okay, that probably means helping people through my work, maybe giving lectures or writing books, right? But literally, the very next day, an event unfolded that made it absolutely impossible to just brush that prophecy off as some random coincidence.
Section 1. Angel's Desperate Fight.
So around May 12th, the author adopted a brother and sister pair of kittens, and they named the little sister Angel. Definitely keep that name in mind because it ended up being mysteriously almost perfectly fitting for the short but incredibly impactful life she was about to live. But things escalated terribly fast. Right after being adopted, Angel contracted parvovirus. Now, the author is no novice. They'd cared for up to 7 cats at a time before, but this was an entirely new, terrifyingly deadly challenge. Parvovirus has a brutally high mortality rate for kittens. After 4 agonizing days in the hospital with 0 improvement, the vet delivered a pretty grim prognosis. Please take her home. It was a gentle, heartbreaking way of saying her chances of survival were practically 0. But then, the very next morning after coming home to pass away, a miracle happened. She suddenly started meowing. She actually tried to stand up. I mean, she was leaning on walls, falling over, wobbling everywhere, but she somehow made her way to her food and started eating all on her own. Against all odds, it seemed she had survived the impossible.
Section 2. Surviving with Scars.
The relief, however, was mixed with some hard truths. The author realized very quickly that while Angel survived the virus, something was fundamentally changed. The sickness had severely ravaged her neurological system, and the vet confirmed she had lasting brain damage. Her eyes appeared to see, yet they didn't. Even in total darkness, her pupils barely dilated at all. When she tried to sit, her little body would just slump over to the left. She couldn't even lift her back leg to groom herself. When she was tired, she would just fall completely sideways to sleep. She was haunted by these invisible fears, suddenly backing away with this low, hoarse meow that didn't sound like a normal kitten whatsoever. On top of all that, she suffered from frequent epileptic seizures. It was a daily, highly visible struggle just to exist.
Now, what's really interesting about this number right here, 700 grams, is that the sheer willpower behind it is just staggering. Despite all of her profound neurological damage, Angel possessed this terrifyingly fierce life force when it came to eating. She ate constantly. She ate far more than her totally healthy brother, Micken. Yet, tragically, her damaged body simply couldn't absorb the nutrients. Even at 4 to 5 months old, she never grew past 700 grams. Her body flat out refused to grow, but her spirit desperately wanted to live. Section 3. The Dragon Cloud.
By mid-July, that fierce willpower that had kept Angel going finally began to flicker out. On July 19th, she suddenly stopped eating entirely. The author rushed her to the vet, who quietly explained that her neurological symptoms were just overwhelming her system, and the deterioration was severe. At this point, all they could do was syringe feed her a high-nutrient diet at home to keep her comfortable. The decline was incredibly rapid. That first day, she still tried to move her tongue and swallow. But by July 20th, her tongue stopped moving altogether. She was barely breathing. And on the morning of July 21st, right in the middle of a sweltering 35-degree summer heat wave, the author woke up to find that Angel had passed away. Rigor mortis had already set in. Wanting to honor her beautifully before the intense summer heat took its toll, the family arranged for cremation that very same day. The author had their daughters hold her stiffened body, a vital, really raw lesson in the fragility of life. The girls immediately wrote heartfelt letters, placing them so gently into Angel's coffin before she was sent off.
But here is where this story shifts from a heartbreaking medical reality into something a little more mystical. The day before Angel died, the family happened to be at a sushi restaurant parking lot. Out of nowhere, the author's eldest daughter looked up at the sky and said, "There's a dragon." And sure enough, the cloud formation looked exactly like a dragon's head on the left, with this long body stretching way up into the sky. The author looked at it, turned to their daughter, and asked, "Where is the dragon going?"
And without missing a single beat, the daughter replied, "To heaven, so something good will happen." The very next morning, Angel passed away. Now, scientifically speaking, yes, of course, it was just a cumulus cloud. You can't scientifically prove a cloud dragon was in the sky carrying a rescue kitten to the afterlife. But the author makes a really powerful point here. We are humans, and there are these rare moments in life where we absolutely feel a profound sense of meaning. The author found a deep, unshakable peace in the idea that this dragon gently carried Angel up to heaven. They absolutely refused to dismiss it as a mere coincidence.
Section 4. Redefining helping others.
So the crucial point is, how does this tie back to the palm reader's prophecy about helping others? Traditionally, we think helping means fixing the problem, right? Saving the life, curing the disease. If you look at it through that strict lens, perhaps they failed, because ultimately, Angel died. But the author realized a much deeper truth here. Angel had permanent brain damage. Honestly, she might have been deemed unadoptable if she had gone anywhere else. But because she came to this specific family, she got medical care, she got to eat until she was full every day, she was held by loving children, she received love letters in her coffin, and she was entirely surrounded by family as she passed. Helping doesn't always mean saving a life. Sometimes helping simply means staying close until the very end and creating a safe, incredibly warm place for someone to pass.
Section 5. Walking side by side.
This whole story beautifully mirrors a very human experience. Specifically, it mirrors the author's own experience with neurodivergence and developmental traits. As the author puts it, "I don't have a missing screw. I was born with a design that doesn't fit the screw." Angel's brain damage wasn't something that could ever be cured. She was going to live the rest of her life with those neurological deficits, and the author sees themselves in this. People with developmental traits are constantly told by society that they're broken, that they have a loose screw that just needs tightening. But as this brilliant metaphor states, they aren't missing a piece. They are simply built with an entirely different design.
And this brilliantly illustrates the massive difference between society's idea of help and actual genuine support. Think about it. If you try to force a screw into a piece of machinery where there is no screw hole, you literally just cause damage. It's painful, and it's going to fall out anyway. Trying to force a neurodivergent person to cure themselves through sheer effort is exactly like that. True support, however, is simply accepting the design exactly as it is and walking alongside it.
So what does true support actually look like in practice? Well, first, do not force a cure or demand that someone fix their inherent traits through sheer willpower. Second, accept their current state with absolute confidence, saying, "Hey, let's move forward just as you are." Third, walk side by side with them at their exact pace, no matter how fast or slow that is. And finally, just look at the same scenery together. The author notes that for someone with developmental traits, having just one person who will walk beside you for a single day, carefully matching your stride and sharing your unique view of the world, that is the ultimate salvation.
And that is exactly what the author's family did for Angel. Her 4 short months of life weren't just a period of illness. They weren't just a tragedy of brain damage and failing health. She lived as family. She was intensely loved as family, and she was sent off as family. They couldn't fix her brain damage, but they walked side by side with her, right at her wobbly pace, until that dragon cloud came to take her away.
So I want to leave you with this question to really reflect on today. Who in your life just needs you to walk beside them? Maybe it's time we stop trying to force screws where they don't belong and stop thinking of helping only as fixing or curing. Because sometimes the most profound thing we can do for someone whose life or mind works differently than ours is to simply slow down, accept their design unconditionally, and just walk with them, looking at the exact same scenery.